abakamikazi ni bantu ki? Amerika yataye umutwe kubera indege z'abiyahuzi bakomeje kwigabaho ibitero. Ni abantu biyahura cyangwa se bakora akazi bazi neza ko ubuzima bwabo buri mu kaga, ariko bakabikora bagamije kurokora abantu benshi cyangwa se bagahitana imbaga y'abantu benshi. Urugero, ukabikora ushaka kurokora umuryango wawe. Mu binyejana byatambutse kugera mu kinyejana bwa mbere bw'isi yose, ubwami bw'Ubuyapani ntibwavunirwagamo mu kinyejana cya 13. Ubuyapani bwari ubwami bukomeye bw'abamongoli. ubwo bwami nibwo bwari bukomeye bwa Mongoliya. Bujuje amato imyambi myinshi n'intwaro zikomeye za gakondo bashaka kujya kurimbura ubwami bw'Abayapani. Ubwo bari mu nyanja benda kugera mu Buyapani, umuyaga ukomeye cyane waje mu nyanja maze uteza kwivumbagatanya gukomeye kw'inyanja, birengera ubwato bwose bwa Mongoli bari baje kwigayurira Ubuyapani no kurimbura ubwo bwami. Abayapani nta kabuza bemeye ko umuyaga ari wo wabatabaye cyane. Abayapani bahise bawita Kamikazi, ikigirwamana cy'umuyaga, cyangwa se imyemerere ikomeye ishingiye ku bukana n'imbaraga z'umuyaga. Mu mico y'Iburengerazuba bw'isi, ijambo Kamikazi batangiye guhura naryo mu ntambara ya kabiri y'isi yose, aho basakiranaga n'abaturage bakomeye babaga biyemeje guharanira ubuzima bwabo, ariko nabo bagasenya ibirindiro by'umwanzi byabwo byemeje kubazengereza. Bitwaga abapilote rero baba biyahuze, abakamikazi. Aba bapilote ubwo intambara ya kabiri y'isi yose yari igeze mu myaka ya nyuma, bagabye ibitero byinshi bitandukanye mu mato y'intambara n'ibihugu byari bigizwe ikiswe imbaraga zishyize hamwe, allied powers cyangwa se forces alliées. Reka nkwibutse gatoya ko mu ntambara ya kabiri y'isi ibice bibiri byari bihanganye, arizo twita allied powers cyangwa se forces alliées ndetse na axis powers. Forces alliées nibo baje gutsinda intambara, nyuma yaho nibo baje gusubisha umuryango w'abibumbye uhari uyu munsi. Bari barangajwe imbere n'ibihugu bikomeye cyane, aribyo ubwami bw'Ubwongereza, Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika, Leta Yunze Ubumwe y'Abasoviyete, bikunganirwa n'ibihugu bitandukanye nk'Ubufaransa ndetse n'ibindi byo mu Burayi. Naho ibyitwa Axis powers bari bagizwe n'ibihugu bike cyane birangajwe imbere na leta y'Abanazi mu Budage yo kwa Adolf Hitler, abashiste mu Bataliyani kwa Mussolini, ndetse n'ubwami bw'Abayapani bwa Mohohito mu 1922 kugera mu 1945 byari byarishe Tokyo Berlins cyangwa se Axis powers. Ubwo intambara y'isi yari irimo igana ku musozo, ibihugu byo muri Axis powers byakubiswe ku ruhame, Ubudage bufatwa mpiri, Ubutaliyani nabwo buratsindwa burundu. Ubwami bw'Ubuyapani ubwo bwasaga nk'aho bugikomeye bugikanyakanya mu ntambara, byasabye imyitozo ihambaye cyane ya gisirikare ku ruhande rw'Abasoviyete n'Abanyamerika kugira babashe gutsimbura abantu bose. Ubuyapani bwari bukiri gushinga imizi no gushaka kwihagararaho, urugero nka Koreya ndetse n'ahandi. Bageze mu nyanja ya Pacifique, Ubuyapani bwarwanya umuhenerezo bwemeza ko buzarekura ari uko umuntu wabwo wa nyuma apfuye agashyiramo umwuka. Bwari bumerewe nabi cyane. Abakamikazi baritabajwe ngo barwane ku gihugu cyabo kandi batsinsure ingabo za allied powers. Abo bakamikazi bahabwaga imyitozo yihuse yo gutwara indege ndetse no kumenera igihugu amaraso aribwo butwari, kandi bagomba kubikora kugira ngo barebe ko bacungura abantu benshi. Ubwo Abamongoli bari bagiye gutera Abayapani, ibihugu by'Iburengerazuba bw'isi bari bazi ko ijambo Kamikazi bishatse kuvuga abapilote muri rusange, ariko si byari byo, ahubwo barikoreshaga Kamikazi bashaka kuvuga itsinda ryoherejwe mu bitero bidasanzwe cyangwa special attack team. Ni abapilote bahagurukaga biyemeje guhara ubuzima bwabo, ariko nabo bakanyuza bikomeye ubwato bw'umwanzi cyangwa se ibindi birindiro by'umwanzi ibyo ari byo byose. Hagati y'umwaka w'1992 n'1995 abapilote b'Abakamikazi 3800 babashizemo ubuzima bitanze bagenda bisasira ingogo.
stopping.
Captain Francis McKenna orders suicide attacks, but the 10,000-ton vessel is slow to respond. On deck with horrified American sailors. And inside the Kamikaze's cockpits, as suicide airplanes and rockets hurtle towards oblivion. Experience the battle. Dissect the tactics. Kamikaze, next on Dogfights. October 25th, 1944, 10 a.m. 9 Japanese Zero fighters streak towards Leyte Gulf in the Philippines. The planes fly at wave-top level to avoid detection by American radar. Theirs is a special mission, historic yet terrifying. It is the first organized kamikaze attack of World War II. 5 of the Zeros carry a 550-pound bomb in place of the usual long-range fuel tank. The extra weight makes them unfit to dogfight. So 4 other Zeros fly escort. Japanese fighter ace Kunio Iwashita flew similar escort missions for kamikazes.
I was a fighter pilot, so my job was to accompany the kamikaze forces when they went on a mission and shoot down the Americans if they got in the way. Also, we were supposed to see what sort of results came from the kamikaze attacks. Then report what we had seen back to base.
Leading the suicide planes is Lieutenant Yukio Seki. His orders are to seek out the ships protecting the Allied invasion force on the Philippines, a small U.S. Navy task group called Taffy 3. Only hours before, these same vessels had come under withering gunfire from the Japanese Navy. The escort carrier USS St. Lo is one of the few ships of Taffy 3 not hit during the battle. Planes are now returning to St. Lo from the morning's combat and are quickly moved below decks for rearming and refueling. No one can imagine what is about to befall them. Orville Bethard is a 21-year-old electrician's mate on the St. Lo.
I've never heard of a kamikaze. I've heard of bombers and all those kind of things, but somebody purposely doing this didn't even occur to me.
10:45 a.m. The kamikazes spot the unsuspecting American ships. They climb quickly to 5,000 feet, positioning for a high-speed dive. The Japanese pilots select their targets, the vulnerable flight decks of the escort carriers.
Escort carriers became the target of choice due to the fact that they had a thin wooden flight deck that could be penetrated by incoming kamikazes and their bombs.
At 10:49, Lieutenant Seki sees his opening. He rocks his wings to signal the attack. Diving on the USS White Plains, Seki is hit by flak and veers towards the St. Lo.
But we've been bombed before and everything, you know, all this way, but this guy was low. It was heading for us like he was going to make a landing on our flight deck. Somebody behind me opened up with a 20-millimeter gun. And it may have hit him, but it didn't stop him.
Captain Francis McKenna orders full right rudder, but the 10,000-ton vessel is slow to respond.
this thing's doing 300 miles an hour. And he's coming in a matter of seconds. Now you can try to turn the ship, but there's not much you can do about it.
At 10:53, Seki sweeps in over the stern, then dives onto St. Lo's flight deck.
I didn't get the effect of the explosion, but I did get the fireball. And it come sweeping over where I was located, so I ducked real low and it went skinning on over and out.
Seki's armor-piercing bomb has sliced through the wooden flight deck and detonated below.
What happens next is aircraft start exploding in the hangar deck, and each explosion begets another. One explosion will set off a torpedo over here, will set off some exposed fuel over here, and before you know it, half the hangar deck is ablaze. Men are burning. It's a horrific, frightening scene.
Valiant crewmen try to contain the raging inferno, but just 7 minutes after the first kamikaze hit, St. Lo is in shambles.
Captain McKenna orders the abandoned ship, at which point the lines go overboard and men start jumping into the sea, swimming away from the ship, trying to gain some distance before the ship goes down and sucks them under with it.
At 11:20 a.m., an 8th explosion. The aircraft bomb magazine detonates, ripping apart the St. Lo.
I could feel a big concussion from that in the water. And I turned around and I looked and I watched it then. The ship had turned about like that and was going down stern first. I don't know how many live people were still on there. And I was thinking, there goes my home.
At 11:25, the once proud ship slips beneath the surface. Of a crew of over 850, 114 are lost. USS St. Lo is the first American ship sunk by kamikazes. A hideous scenario that will be repeated nearly 3,000 times before the war's end, claiming 5,000 lives. The idea for suicide attacks was first considered nearly 20 months earlier, in the wake of Japan's humiliating loss of Guadalcanal in February 1943.
The kamikaze program was born of desperation when they realized that there was not much they could do against the overwhelming strength being deployed by the Americans. That wasn't much they could do in the conventional, traditional sense.
The concept was originally rejected as defeatist, but with the Allied invasion of the Philippines, the decision is made to unleash the suicide weapon. The goal is to inflict sufficient casualties to destroy the Americans' will to fight. The new strategy is called Toko.
They refer to the tactic as tokubetsu kogeki, which means, literally translated, special attack.
Vice Admiral Takajiro Onishi is charged with implementing Toko operations immediately. He enlists volunteers from the 201st Naval Air Group in the Philippines. There's no time for specialized training. Many of the first volunteers are dive bomber pilots. It is hoped that their experience in near vertical dives will translate into the Toko mission. The success of the initial kamikaze mission on October 25, 1944, unleashes a tidal wave of attacks. Navy and Army High Command draft inexperienced pilots into practically any flyable airplane. By the time of the Okinawa invasion in April 1945, massive kamikaze raids are bringing a glimmer of hope to Japan's desperate situation.
is the idea that a single man, a single aircraft, can trade itself for a U.S. carrier, which is truly a glorious sacrifice for the Emperor.
April 16, 1945, the destroyer USS Laffey, accompanied by support ships LCS-51 and 116, is patrolling waters 50 miles north of Okinawa. The ship is on radar picket duty, a new defensive tactic that positions a ring of destroyers around the main invasion force to create an early warning system against incoming aircraft. Laffey is manning station number 1, the closest to Japan. The last 4 destroyers to patrol this area were slammed by kamikazes. Ari Futridis is a 19-year-old quartermaster on Laffey.
We knew that being the first in the line of defense was dangerous, but we didn't realize to what extent.
At 7:44 a.m., radar picks up a solitary Val dive bomber 6 miles out, approaching off the port bow. Laffey's 5-inch guns quickly open fire. At 3 miles, the Val jettisons its bomb and turns away.
Probably came in just to look over the situation and then took off.
Then, at 8:29 a.m., a swarm of 50 Japanese planes appears on the horizon. The attackers circle ominously, like vultures. The USS Laffey is about to face the most unrelenting kamikaze attack in history. April 16, 1945. 50 kamikazes surround the destroyer USS Laffey. The swarm includes Val and Judy dive bombers and King torpedo planes. Older aircraft equipped for suicide attack.
These were outmoded aircraft. They could be loaded with explosives. They were relatively easy to fly and stable platforms for doing what they had to do, which is to aim at a ship and try to hit it.
Al Doris watches the terrifying procession from his 40mm gun mount.
Well, they were just about every place you looked. You know, you could see a Japanese plane.
Suddenly, 4 Vals break formation and bear down on Laffey.
They were coming in low on the water, and somebody on our gun said, well, here they come. They're coming now.
2 head for the starboard bow. Captain Julius Beckton orders Laffey to come about, hard left 30 degrees, to bring all his guns broadside to the attackers. Laffey unleashes an anti-aircraft barrage. First, the main battery, 5-inch radar-directed guns.
And then they get in a little closer than the 40s. And they get a little closer, then the 20mm will start rattling at them. We just try to stop them as best we could.
Laffey splashes the first 2 attackers, but the other 2 Vals wheel around to come in from the stern. One Val sheds